Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lucky Tremendous, and welcome back to the third episode of this. You guys hear that? That means it's Walking Dead time again, folks. That's right, my friends. We're going to be delving back into the world of The Walking Dead for episode 3 of season 1, Tell It to the Frogs. Unofficially the mid-season finale because it ends the first half of the season before the second half begins. And I believe that this episode we're in for many great treats and even darker surprises. So, without further ado, my friends, let us dig into episode 3 of season 1 of The Walking Dead, Tell It to the Frogs. Let's cut the music there for a second, and without further ado, let's get started. The episode starts off with Merle Dixon struggling to escape the handcuffs that he's been placed in after his group abandons him on the department store rooftop. It's made clear that he's extremely disoriented, hallucinating, dehydrated. He's pretty much a frickin' mess. All the while he swears vengeance on Rick for putting him there, putting him through all this misery. However, when he sees that the walkers are coming for him from downstairs in the lobby, he starts to beg for God's forgiveness as they're trying to breach the door, trying to see this as the repentance for all the horrible things he's done over the years. However, in one final desperate attempt to get free, Merle desperately tries to reach for some tools nearby, screaming that he will never beg to God for anything again. He screams it as loud as he can, using his belt to try and grab a hacksaw to cut himself free, all the while as the opening credits play. And weirdly enough, this is one of the last times we're going to be seeing Merle, like Morgan, for another couple years, as Michael Rooker was seemingly written out of the show. But that's a discussion for another day. After the credits rain, elsewhere, Glenn leads Rick and the other members of his group back to the survivors' camp outside of Atlanta. Rick is told by Morales, another minor character, that no one's going to feel sorry that Merle got left behind, except his brother, Daryl, that is. When they arrive at the camp, everyone's originally mad at Glenn for driving the car with its alarm blaring back to their camp, but he got a cool car, though. When Rick steps out of the truck, he's amazingly surprised to see Shane at first, of all people for him to run into out here, and he sees Lori and Carl among the wreckage of among all the people there as well. They have an amazingly beautiful reunion as cheerful music plays. It's actually quite tear-jerking, with after everything Rick had to go through to get to this point, for him to finally be with Lori and Carl, it was a wonderful sight. But not all the while with Shane, remind you, because he spent the first 2.25 episodes getting good with Rick's wife, and now it seems like he might be in the doghouse pretty bad. As the group is reunited, they discover a walker nearby the next morning, which they quickly dispatch, though fear that this may be a sign of trouble, as they have yet to see any walkers anywhere near the camp. Earlier that night, they discussed what they were going to do when Daryl had returned from the camp, how they were going to tell him that his brother got left behind. It's made pretty clear to everyone that, yeah, Merle is still alive, and now it is on them. Lori apologizes for everything that happened to Rick and them before the end of the world, and he eagerly forgives her, not realizing she's also apologizing for cheating on him with his best friend. And of course, Shane is now feeling extremely pissed and isolated now that his best friend is seemingly risen from the dead. Meanwhile, back after the group is dispatched with the walker, Merle's brother Daryl emerges from the forest after hunting and learns of Merle's fate, and becomes furious at not only Rick, but everyone involved. And of course, who else would be playing Daryl Dixon than the awesomeness that is Norman Reedus? You may remember him from films like Blade 2 and The Boondock Saints 1 and 2. Great movies, by the way. Daryl is just as hot-headed as his brother, but he's not as vicious. He is somewhat more intelligent and somewhat more well-mannered, but he's still Merle's brother, so he still has the crazy attitude when he attacks Rick after telling him he left Merle behind. The chokehold's illegal, and all that. Feeling guilty for Merle being left behind and handcuffed, as well as wanting to get his bag of guns, his hat he left behind, and the walkie-talkie that Morgan has, Rick Rick arranges a little rescue group with the members of the Atlanta camp survivors, including Glenn, T-Dog, and Daryl. Glenn because he knows the area, T-Dog because he's the one that dropped the key and he feels mostly responsible, and Daryl himself. While Rick is gone away after much berating by Lori because she's quite upset at him leaving her after only just finding her, Lori tells Shane that she must end her relationship with Shane and all such conversations and encounters. And of course, Shane becomes very bitter at this because it was never his intention. He too thought Rick was dead, and of course he could never have known that, well, this would have happened. Of course, it's one of these things that starts to plant seeds in Shane's character that will eventually grow into something much more sinister as the series goes on, but I believe you guys will learn that soon enough if you continue to watch my program. When Shane witnesses Ed striking his wife, Carol, played by the amazingly awesome Melissa McBride, for not focusing on her laundry work, because, a little backstory, Ed is he's a little piece of work up at the camp. He does nothing, smokes all day, and hits his wife in private. Yes, that's right. Carol and Sophia, Ed and Carol's daughter, are abuse victims, and such things must be handled with extreme prejudice. And mostly why Carol is one of my favorite characters in the television series. She's nice, she's caring and considerate, and it's definitely things that make you feel sorry for her. I mean, this guy, with literally no social skills, beats the crap out of her whenever she doesn't do what he tells her to. And basically feeling all the anger and bitterness over losing Lori to Rick, a man thought to be dead, and Carl, Shane takes out his anger on Ed after Ed hits Carol across the face for talking back to him, and threatens to kill him if he ever touches any of the women again, nearly beating his face into the dirt outside the quarry that the camp is right next to, leaving Ed a bloodied mess on the ground. Oh geez. Shane is looked at quite with horror and disgust by the other camp members for what he did, even though Ed was an ass. I'm pretty sure he didn't deserve to almost be killed for it. Actually, no, that's a lie. He probably did, totally. We do not stand for abuse here at Lucky Tremendous Incorporated. Meanwhile, Rick's group arrives back at the department store in Atlanta and makes their way back up to the rooftop, finding Merle missing. Well, not all of him. They find a hacksaw sitting beside Merle's severed left hand with bloody handcuffs hanging from the pipe. It would seem that Merle was unable to cut himself free, so he sawed his left hand off. Daryl goes into a fit of rage and screams at the others helplessly, realizing that his brother is either dead or long gone by now. All this while, as the episode fades to black, and Tell It to the Frogs ends. And that was episode 3 of The Walking Dead Season 1, Tell It to the Frogs. It's a good episode. Not really good, mind you, it's just good. Basically, a lot of the early episodes of the show are good. This one was just good. The introduction of Daryl and Carol is a very iconic moment in the series' history, especially consider where they end up going as the seasons go on and the stories develop. Meeting all of the background characters even more, getting to know the little characters and the bigger characters, seeing the story carry over so fluently is a very surreal experience. Seeing Rick finally reunite with his wife and son is one of the best moments of the entire story, both from the books and in the series. And it's nice to see some genuine human emotion in such tiring times. This early on in a series like this, so brand new to television, it's really hard to find shows like that nowadays. But now let's think about this. Where can the story go from here? We still have 3 more episodes this season, and trust me, there is still a lot more left to come. What happened to Merle? Will we ever see him again? How is Daryl going to take this news? Will Shane ever get over the fact that now Lori has ghosted him after she thinks he lied to her? Can Rick ever hope to salvage this operation to rescue Merle and get the guns? Or will things just end up falling apart as they so have already? In conclusion, my friends, Tell It to the Frogs is a good episode. I would highly recommend it for newbie fans of The Walking Dead, and I hope to see you more as we continue Lucky Talks into the shows such as Walking Dead and beyond. As always, my friends, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews from yours truly, and I will be seeing you folks in the next video. I'm Lucky Tremendous. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Bye.